Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for joining me, especially today when we had a little bit of a opportunity to observe technology creating some challenges for us. And Krista, welcome back from your travels, joining us. And as always, so good to see you, Kat and Dondra. Always nice to have you here. So I want to hear from you. Tell me how has A Course in Miracles been operating in your life, especially you, Dondra and Kat, who are immersed in it with me and other classes. So go ahead.
Okay. I don't know if it's that or what, or it's everything, but I just feel like everything in my life is turned upside down right now.
So let me just say it this way. Everything is turned upside down because the ego has been running the world, but your ability to stay grounded as you turn yourself right side up is what the Course is wanting to help us with, because God did not intend for us to be upside down. God intended for us with free will to do whatever we want to do. So we turned ourselves upside down, and now we have the ability with the same free will, if we follow God's directions, to turn ourselves upside, right side up. And that to me is what the Course in Miracles is the instruction manual to understand how the world got turned upside down and what we must do to turn ourselves right side up. We don't turn the world right side up. We turn ourselves right side up, and the world then changes because it is responding to our expectation.
That's what I feel like the direction is for me. That's where I feel like I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah. What about for you, Kat?
Well, it's interesting. Just before the call, I was getting my makeup on, getting dressed. So I had on that something, I don't know who she is. I've seen her before. It's something you shared. And she's got dark hair pulled back, and she's very thin and very with just beautiful soul. But anyways, I've been listening to her and some of the questions, and it's all about truth.
Mm-hmm.
And it was and it's a lot of her stuff all of it ties right into the Course in Miracles, all of it.
Well, the reason it ties in, sorry to interrupt you, the reason it ties in is she's channeling Jesus. You're talking about Erin Michelle. She channels Jesus, and Jesus, that's not who you're talking about?
It's another one.
Okay.
I think Erin doesn't come on and do vocals much. It's just print, right? It's just, oh, she does?
Well, Erin does print in Facebook, a daily message from Jesus, but she does, I shared a video yesterday, and she channels Jesus. She wears her hair back. She's got dark hair. Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, that's Erin Michelle, same one.
Okay.
And if you look at the YouTube, you'll see that it's Erin Michelle, and she channels Jesus, and she channels like exactly as Tina Louise. They both channel Jesus specifically on the teachings of A Course in Miracles. So that's why it all matches, because it is very specific to the Course in Miracles. That's why in this particular video that I sent, people are asking about Akashic records, and she says, we don't teach about that. So I don't know if you heard that, but anyhow, if you're talking about the video I just sent yesterday, that is Erin Michelle.
Okay. All right. I think it was yesterday. I'm not sure. I went back a little bit. I was looking for something else, and I just saw it, so I put it on. It was very profound, and just reiterates the truth, and just puts me in the consciousness of remembering I always have choice. And so last night was a challenging night, and I don't know why. It was a little birthday get together for my daughter, my granddaughter, and moi. And it just, I didn't feel comfortable. I don't know why. I just didn't feel at peace. And I let the ego really take, and sometimes I do that in situations where I don't feel comfortable for some reason. So I had to come in and just sit down and like try to get myself, when I came home, just be still, just be still and know that I am God. And that's my practice because I was down it was my ego just zapped me. So
yeah.
So anyway, I'm very grateful.
We let our ego do that until we are well practiced in not doing that. Until we are totally, completely certain, operating in the certainty of who we are, we don't get hijacked by our ego much. It's very rare. You see the thought and you don't even pay it. You just totally ignore it. And that's the one thing the ego doesn't want us to do, is to know that we can ignore that thought. We don't have to believe our own thoughts. However, until we are grounded in the trusting of the truth and the trusting of our eternal self, the trusting that we're one, that we are safe in the mind of God, that peace is already existing within us when we recognize the truth of who we are, until we're grounded and we trust that unknown to us, we still are going to get hijacked by the ego. But as you know, it's less and less and less. And the period of time that we're hijacked is shorter and shorter and shorter. But it's part of the journey. It's part of the journey of crossing the bridge and being grounded only in the truth. So thank you for continuing to do what you need to do to get yourself across the bridge, because that is what we're doing, is we are moving to a place in consciousness where we can experience that happy dream. But that's only possible when we stop believing the nightmare, when we stop believing the thoughts that hold us in that lower frequency. And it's always going to have to do with fear, control, judgment, jealousy, shame, blame, guilt. That's just where the ego swims. It's in those low, it's a bottom feeder. So it has to have those low frequencies. And thank you.
Well, also this morning in my prayer after I realized that I still need a lot of forgiveness for myself for things I've done, even for something I did yesterday. And but in the past, and so forgiveness is key for me. And I know that I need to, that's important.
Well, forgiveness is the key, because we forgot the truth. This is a process not of learning truth, but of remembering truth. So we not only have to forgive ourselves for believing lies, making them truth, believing external idols and making them authorities, believing that we're separate and making that our reality. We have to forgive ourselves for having done that. And that forgiving of self is something that we know we have to do once we realize that forgiving others can only take us so far, because forgiving others still keeps us in the game of separation. Oh, you did something bad, but I'm going to forgive you. Well, forgiving myself for thinking anybody could hurt me is the ultimate goal with forgiveness. And then, as you know, you might hear, if you haven't already heard in that particular channeling that Aaron just did, Jesus is saying, but once you're operating as love, what is there to forgive? So the forgiveness practice is only because we haven't been loving. So we are forgiving ourselves for forgetting to love everything that is, because that is why we incarnate. We incarnate to bring light to the planet. We incarnate to bring love and light to a world that the ego has made very dark. But we forgot to do that because we met all these crazy people called mother, father, teacher, preacher. And we began to then, I better protect myself because I can't trust them. So we removed ourselves from our truth very systematically. So it's a very systematic process to returning to the truth. And there's nobody to blame. There's only forgiving ourselves for forgetting our mission. Number one, we forgot our mission. Number two, we forgot to do it. And number three, we came with a bunch of people who had the same mission and they forgot it too. So this is why forgiveness is the goal, the key, and the only way out of the insanity. So you're spot on. Totally. All right, Crystal, welcome back. Give us a quick little update. How are you doing with your own personal spiritual practice?
Well, Dondra mentioned the world being upside down, or her world being upside down. Well, I certainly observed that in having been in my travels to South Africa, and just being more aware of how topsy-turvy things are, and I'm recognizing they've always been topsy-turvy. It's just becoming more aware of that, and how important it is to even now be reminded by being in your presence, Laina, and being in the presence of these meetings, to be centered with one's own inner realm, to see the topsy-turviness in its proper perspective relative to my purpose. And you mentioned a few moments ago about forgetting. Well, I haven't really forgotten. I just ignore. I ignore some of my things I need to be doing, and then I need to forgive myself for being so blatantly ignoring the things that I know I need to do, which sort of is a combination of ignoring and forgetting, and so I'm needing to be more diligent with the practices that you are reminding us of in the meetings like this. So I appreciate these opportunities.
Well, you are welcome, and welcome back.
Thank you.
So as I was sitting inside, I'll go ahead and mute everybody and start the transmitting what was happening to me. So I've just been in the last couple of days just feeling this pull to get away. I just need to get away for a couple of days, preferably near water, because I feel like my next assignment is coming. And I'm really feeling this, some things are going to have to change. Not only like maybe how I present myself to the world, my website probably is going to have to change. The message, how I share, not what I share, maybe not even how I share, but who I share to, because I feel that for me, I need to, for my expansion, we teach what we're learning, and my expansion is with those who don't need to convince that they're magnificent, with those who have made the decision that I am not my body, I am free, I am as God created me. And, in that group, especially those of you who are in my other classes, when we read the book, the teachings, they tell us all are invited to wake up, but very few are going to do that. So the numbers get smaller and smaller and smaller that are really committed to that level of not only remembering, but not ignoring what we need to do, committed to doing the work. And that to me is really, really exciting. But I have to get clear that that's going to shift some things for me, and things that I don't want to be doing, like marketing and yada, yada, yada. And part of this shift for me is that the people that are ready for that they're looking for those who are ready. And many of them are having to go beyond spirituality and religion. And this today, while I was in the shower, I'm got to do a talk on beyond spirituality and religion. And I'm like, oh my God, why don't I get the easy assignments, like just teaching meditation or teaching kumbaya, but to stir the nest, to stir the hornet's nest and go tell spiritual people, you're not awake. Or the religious people, you think you know God, but there's no judgment in God. So you don't really know God. I'm like, why me? But anyways, it's because I make it simple and I explain it in a way that's lighthearted, and that may be the only way some are going to get it. And it's a very deliberate call beyond spirituality, call beyond what we already know about God, and let ourselves feel God within and embody God, get comfortable being an instrument of God's message. And I know a lot of people are ready for that. So I've got to connect with them. And so I just have to be in a space where I receive what that is. 17 years ago, I think it was 2007, 15 years ago, I was living my life. And yes, I was already about 5 years into my spiritual awakening, because it started in 2002. And I got this download, as people call it. I received this message as clear as can be, wrote out. I went into my sunroom and wrote out the Power of Awareness workshop. It came, like in one fell swoop, it just totally downloaded. And then inside of that was the one tool that I use, how to shift and lift, how to see that you got to shift from ego to God. Well, that's still the only thing that the course teaches, shift from ego to God. It's still power of awareness. You got to be aware of what's going on. Everything that was given to me, not only did I have to apply to my life, I had to help others learn how to apply in their lives so that I could see that it worked. And I know that whatever is next is just going to come to me like that. And I'm ready. So it's going to be a matter of those who are curious about the course. Yes, I have lots of things on YouTube for them. And we'll do some talks and we'll do some things for newbies. But those who are serious about embodying the truth of who they are, participating in the co-creation of the happy dream, that's really exciting to me, because I know that the line has been drawn in the sand. If you study some of the teachings of the book of Ra, the teachings of Ra, there is information in there, and you can find this in lots of other places, but that was the channeled message that was very, very clear, is that there is a harvest time. There is a time mentioned, these things are mentioned also in the Bible, and I've heard people connect Ra, the teachings of Ra, and the Bible. And there is a harvest time, and we are in the harvest time. The wheat and the chaff are being separated. If you are not ready to have blossomed into that wheat that can be used and harvested and turned into sustenance for the next part of the journey, then you're part of the chaff. You are not going to be able to open your mind to receive the nourishment, the information that is necessary to allow you to go to that next level of consciousness. You're just going to stay where you have decided to stay. All of it by choice. This is not a punishment. This is an acknowledgement. It's actually a recognition by God, by source, creative source, intelligence, that some want to stay where they are. Some want to go to the next adventure. And those who are ready to go to the next adventure, there's some newbies. And then there are those who are very serious. But those who are insisting that fear is real, who are insisting that God is a punishing God, those people are not ready to be harvested and taken to the next level of consciousness. When you read Power versus Force, it's very clear. Those levels of consciousness are based on our willingness to see things differently. We have to be willing to open our mind. If you're not willing to open your mind, you're choosing to keep it at the level that it is at. There is nothing wrong with that. But because I know that we have crossed that timeline, we have entered for a couple of years now. As I've been studying the teachings of Cryon, it's a 36-year window to make the decision to get on board with that God is love and then be that. 36 years in human years, that's a long time. We've been given ample time. We've been given ample examples by what's happening in the world to begin to see this world's crazy. There's got to be another way. And if what's happening in the world is not enough to shake you out of your righteousness, well, you are then choosing not to open your mind. That's why nobody gets punished. Nobody is being punished because there is free will. But that window closes at the end of the 2020 decade. We start 2030 in a brand new, it's a new shift. Now, I do not subscribe to, it's just not been given to me to see it this way, that those who are the wheat is going to go on to a different planet, or this planet is going to split. I don't subscribe to that. I'm not going to be right here. I'm going to be right here, but my mind is going to be totally transformed, because I have 8 years to continue to be committed and diligent to the work that I'm doing before that window closes. And there is nothing wrong with that, because I'm making the choice. Nobody's making me do this. So the only way for me to continue to expand in my own journey is to teach what I'm learning. So I've got to prepare myself to not only what I'm receiving to teach, because that's what I'm going to learn, and then to be ready to connect with those that want to learn that, which is why, both of you, Kat and Dondra, know that I'm going to focus on the way of mastery next year, because that is what we need to do. We need to be the masters. We've been in mastery classes learning about a master. There's no more learning about a master. There is only the being the masters that we already are. And that is a process of looking at fear in the face, looking at your ego, and absolutely getting to the point where you are just so amused by its shenanigans that you are like, okay, I'm not listening to you anymore. And from that clarity, that certainty, that confidence, a whole new world is going to open up for us. The co-creations with people who vibe at that frequency is what is going to accelerate in the 2020 decade, because those who have committed to being the wheat, we are going to be helping each other. We're going to be nourishing each other. That's what the wheat does. It nourishes. We're going to be sharing what we know. We're going to share our ideas. We're going to be open to receiving inspiration for new things to bring to the planet, because we know we are the bringers of the new. So we're cleaning ourselves up, removing all the old ideas so that we can be a hollow bone. We can be a hollow instrument and just let what is new flow through us into this new earth. And those who don't want to do that, who want to stay righteous in their own ideas, need to be respected as the powerful creators that they are. They can't go beyond what they know they're not ready for. They're going to find each other. And guess what's going to happen? While these who have connected with God are nourishing each other, Those who are still operating in density are going to be feeding off of each other. It's a very different thing. You know, think about it that way. The ego is a taker. It's a, I got to win and you have to lose. It's going to be crazier than it has been for those who need to be right. It's going to be a feeding frenzy for those who are operating as bottom feeders in consciousness, making a decision to shift and lift and allow ourselves to be nourished by source, by truth, by love, by creativity. Infinite creativity is only going to allow for an expansive world to emerge. And it's already emerging. But that world, for those wonderful new things to expand, we need to be looking for them. We need to be supporting them. We need to be putting our money where our mouth is, putting our actions in alignment with facilitating, allowing that to be a reality. And that to me is super exciting, super, super exciting. And as I was in the shower preparing for today, I was hearing, well, we got to get back to basics. We have to be very clear about what the Course in Miracles is. And as I opened the book, I mean, I'm hearing get back to basics in there. And I opened the book thinking, well, let's see where basics are. I went right to the introduction in the workbook. So right at the very beginning of the 365 lessons, we are given instructions in the form of an introduction, what the book is about, what these lessons are about, how to use these lessons, and being able to see if you are part of the wheat is going to become really easy when you acknowledge that you know your truth and you're no longer embarrassed to share it. You're no longer embarrassed to post about it, to talk to somebody about it. Because when you stand for the truth of who you are, you don't need to defend it. You don't need to be in any way, shape, or form interested in what anybody else thinks about you. And when you're not looking for validation from anybody else, you are able to be that messenger of truth. So grounding ourselves in that level of certainty is necessary, because when you ground yourself in certainty is because you understand the basics. Because the more advanced we get, what that means is we understand the simplicity that is given to us in the very beginning, because you can give people A Course in Miracles, give them the last chapter first. It's not possible. You give them the first chapter, the first introduction first, and it's always very simple. Well, as you advance, and you can come back to the beginning teachings and you see how simple they are, and you recognize the simplicity, you have really leaped in consciousness. So today we're going to focus on the introduction. Hello, Miss Ginger, glad that you joined us. All right, so here we go. Introduction to the 365 lessons in A Course in Miracles, paragraph 1. A theoretical foundation such as the text provides is necessary as a framework to make the exercises in this work meaningful. So, Course in Miracles, this part is the workbook. This is where the lessons are. But you don't get to the lessons. Look, in the beginning, you start through the text. And the text is where we receive the information that provides the theoretical framework for us to really know that we're practicing lessons that have us do things, practice what we have already heard, received. It's in our mind. So we have the knowledge in the head. Now we're going to put it into practice. Yet it is doing the exercises that will make the goal of the course possible. As some of you know, a lot of people have the course, and you might have been one of those people that at some point you had the lessons, but you didn't really practice them. You didn't do it on a daily basis as it is suggested. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we have free will. But the essence of the teachings need to be practiced. They need to become second nature. And the only way for it to become second nature is to put them into practice and feel the resistance to the lesson, feel the resistance to the instructions, feel the anger that comes up when you are told to look at things this way instead of the ego's way. Feel the resistance in you. That resistance helps you see the ego that doesn't want you to make the shift. Then you've got to sit with, why am I resisting this? What benefit is there to resist? So we are actually cultivating a deeper understanding of who are we inside. That's how you come to really recognize the two voices within, is through the resistance, because the ego is nothing but resistance. It's a block to our remembering our truth, is a block to our shining our light. It's our block to our experiencing the peace and the love that is what we are. So everything that is resistance, we want to welcome it, because that shows us the ego. But our training with the ego is that when you resist something, don't go do that. So in a way, we have to train ourselves that going through the resistance is a good thing. Then we get comfortable in the truth of who we are. Then intuition tells us, no, don't go that way. Then we don't go that way. But it's not a resistance. It's a discernment that comes with clarity. But any resistance to go somewhere, if you're not ready to move through it, you're not going to. And nobody's going to be able to make you feel something you're not prepared to feel. But there comes a time in the journey where you have to be honest and recognize, you know what, I've been resisting that. I've been procrastinating with that. I guess I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready because I didn't do it. And that is part of the process of being gentle with ourselves, forgiving ourselves for not doing what we weren't ready to do. But if you're ready now, you prepare the space in your mind of gentleness to let yourself move through the resistance. And moving through the resistance can be uncomfortable. It's going to bring up emotions. It's going to bring up sadness. It can bring up shame and guilt, could bring up blame. All of that unpacked inside of the lessons teaches us how to be a teacher of God, a teacher of love, teaches us how to be gentle with ourselves. The 365 lessons, I think, are a course in self-love, moving us very gently from one thing to the next to the next. And we can take our time, however long we need to take, but we must go through it. That's why in the introduction, in the very beginning of the Course in Miracles, it says this is a required course. Not just that A Course in Miracles is a required course, but the course that helps us know the difference between our ego and God is required. And there's only one curriculum to get through that. There's only one way, and that's to face the ego. And whether you do that through a Buddhist path, a Hindu path, or through A Course in Miracles, it doesn't matter. Whatever gets you there, but it is required that we face the ego, and it is required that we understand what God really is. And when you understand what God really is, you're literally activating God inside of you, because to understand God is to feel God. You can't have an intellectual understanding without having a feeling of God. If you have just an intellectual understanding, it's because you haven't moved past the resistance that the ego has placed so that you can feel God. But you cannot feel what love is while fear has you resist and block going there. So it requires an incredible of willingness and determination and courage. Then sentence number 3 says, an untrained mind can accomplish nothing. This is why the ego can resist, because our minds have not been trained into understanding that the resistance is the doorway. When you move through the resistance, it's not like you're pushing yourself into something that you're not prepared for. Is that resistance is helping you understand that through the commitment to open that door, You are literally strengthening yourself to be able to see what's on the other side. You know, we've all heard the story about the butterfly that was in a cocoon, and a man goes by and it sees the cocoon struggling. It sees that there's movement inside of the cocoon, and he knows it's a butterfly. You know, he's got a yard full of these cocoons, and he just says, you know, let me help this butterfly get out. And he opens up the cocoon, and the butterfly comes out, and it just stammers and plops itself down and dies. Well, the reason is the butterfly's wings strengthen through pushing against the cocoon. It is through pushing the resistance, pushing it, that it strengthens the wings so that they can fly. So this sweet person who thought it was helping the cocoon by opening up or helping the butterfly by opening the cocoon, did not really fully understand that we need to go through the process of strengthening ourselves by pushing through the resistance. That is what we are here to do. That is what the Course in Miracles is doing, to train our mind. So an untrained mind is not going to accomplish anything. We have to push through the resistance within these 365 lessons. Then he goes on to say in sentence number 4, it is the purpose of this workbook to train your mind to think along the lines the text set forth. This is all here just to help us out. Sentence or paragraph 2, the exercises are very simple. They do not require a great deal of time, and it does not matter where you do them. Do them in home, at work, at the park, do them in the airplane, on vacation, doesn't matter where you do them. They need no preparation. The training period is 1 year. The exercises are numbered 1 to 35. Do not undertake to do more than one set of exercises a day. Do one a day. Now, I'm gonna be very honest with you. When I first came to A Course in Miracles, this was in 2010 or 2011. When I first came to A Course in Miracles, December 2011, I literally read the entire book cover to cover in the span of about 2 weeks. I couldn't put it down. And this was holidays, so I wasn't coaching. I didn't have any coaching clients between that period, Christmas to New Year's. I had no classes. I wasn't doing much of anything. And I started reading it right around, I think it was around the 10th or so, 10th, 11th of December. By the end of 2 weeks, before New Year's, I was absolutely completely through the whole course. So I didn't follow exactly what it is said here, but I knew that I had to read it. So I was following the desire to receive all the information. Then what happened is that on January 1st, I began again. Then I did one lesson a day, and I did that for about 3 or 4 years in a row. Now I only go to a lesson when I'm feeling called to a lesson. But those committed 4 years in a row that I did it, and even created a course where I read the lessons, I explained them, and I was sharing how I was putting them into practice in my own life, because I needed to do them many, many, many times for it to make sense. So yes, it tells you here, do the lessons one a day. When you do them one a day, that's when it becomes more practical. I read through it and didn't put it into practice, but I filled my mind with what I needed at the time. Then I was prepared. So paragraph 3, the workbook is divided into 2 main sections. The first deals with the undoing of the way you see now, and the second with the acquisition of true perception. Simple. The first part shows you the ego and the blocks that we have built to the truth of who we are. The second part shows you what God is, what you are, and gives you the information to remind you of the truth of who you are. So it requires both sides. You need to know how the ego got created, because you need to know how to undo it. And the way that the ego is undone is through the understanding of the love that you are, so you can begin to love yourself, so that you can begin to forgive yourself, to be gentle with yourself as you're going through the undoing. So it's very, very simple. That's why it's broken up into two parts. That's why when I teach about the bridge, I always talk about the two parts. That's why we have two awakenings. There's the beginning of the stirring of the desire to have things be better. That's the beginning of understanding the ego. Then there is the awakening that begins to, this is your soul saying, I'm ready to be home. I'm ready to be all that I am. That's the cultivating the relationship with our higher self, our true self, our authentic self, your soul, spirit, whatever you want to call it. So we have to see the cocoon that the ego is all about, that we've been operating in, and then we have to strengthen the wings in order to be free and fly as the butterfly. That pushing against that space in the middle, that's the work that most people are not going to do, because it's extremely scary to step into the unknown. For a mind that is trained into thinking that what we see, what is already so, what was past is what is real. This is why we have a very important role here. The more people that cross over and talk about the truth that is true for them, that are not embarrassed to say that they love God, that are not embarrassed to say, yeah, I saw my ego and I don't listen to my ego anymore. I don't need to be right. These people are standing as examples for these to have the courage to make that transition. It's not our job to get them to cross, but if we do our part, it will inspire many to cross. That's why we have to understand these two parts to the work with A Course in Miracles. Because if we know where we are, then we know what needs to be done. Here, on this side, once you move into accepting the truth of who you are and your assignment as the bringer of love and light, you have got to be consistent no matter where you are to be the light of the world. Because the light of the world illuminates the path for those who are trying to work their way out of the darkness of the cocoon that the ego has had them in. Then paragraph 3, sentence 2 says, with the exception of the review periods, each day's exercises are planned around one central idea, which is stated first. Real simple instructions. This is followed by a description of the specific procedures by which the idea for the day is to be applied. So very, very simple. Each page, each lesson tells you what to do. Paragraph 4 says, the purpose of the workbook is to train your mind in a systematic way to a different perception of everyone and everything in the world. We have got to look at everything completely different. We cannot expect a different result if we still think the same way. Logic dictates that if you still believe you are a body, that death is the end, that people can hurt you, that your voice doesn't matter, that others have more power over you, if those are still entertained in your mind, you're part of the chaff. You're not ready to be harvested and nourish other people. You can't nourish other people. You're still feeding. You still need somebody else to give you the truth, because you have not accepted for yourself the truth that is true always. So we've got to be really clear about where are we on this path? Where are we on this journey? And this is not a time for those who have been on this path for a while to go around feeling guilty or shame that they haven't figured it out, that they're not embodying it, that they're still embarrassed to say what is true for them. This is not a time to feed the ego. This is a time to nourish your soul. This is a time to forgive yourself for being embarrassed. I was too. Forgive yourself for not stirring the pot in a conversation and talking about ego. And when people are all about universe or creator, I had my moments where I'm not going to talk about God, but I feel comfortable with God, but I'm not going to say it. I don't want to upset my spiritual friends, because a lot of them would go berserk. Oh, I don't like God. I don't believe in God. I only believe in creator. Okay. I went through that period too. It's a period of softening the mind to prepare to accept the truth of who we are. But once you accept the truth of who you are, only the truth will set you free. I just experienced this beautiful embrace from God. It's like I just got a thank you from God for allowing my lips, my mouth to just let whatever wants to come through me to come through me, because that's how much I trust God. I don't need to hear what it's going to say ahead of time. I don't need a written proposal of what's going to come through me. I just let it flow through me. It's just so easy and so natural. And God just hugged me and just said, thank you. So amazing. So amazing. So the exercises are planned to help you generalize the lessons so that you will understand that each of them is equally applicable to everyone and everything you see. The generalization of being the love, being the light to everything is key. That's really one of the hallmarks that you have crossed the bridge and you are part of the chaff. I mean, part of the wheat, that you are ready to nourish others because you treat the tree, the dog, the person, the water, you treat everything and everyone exactly alike. All of it is God expressing. All of it is energy that has taken shape. It's taken the shape of air. So you're grateful for the air. You treat it with love and appreciation. You do that, because God, the energy that it is, took the shape of the, the house, took the shape of the tree, took the shape of the clothes. How do you treat your clothes? Took the shape of the dog. How do you treat your dog? How do you treat somebody else's dog? So all of that is designed to help us see that until we equalize everything, we treat everything equal, we haven't fully moved across the bridge into the appreciation that what appears to be separation is for us to just love and hug and recognize that everything is part of me and I am part of everything. And that coming together in that way is beautiful and fun and exciting. And that to me is what's coming next for me. Hold on a quick second. Heard a little rattling in the kitchen and I figured get rid of the background noise. All right, paragraph 5. So transfer of training in true perception does not proceed as does transfer of the training of the world. So to transfer the training from the book into us is not the same as the training that we get from the world when we were in school and we learned the way that we learned. If true perception has been achieved in connection with any person, situation, or event, total transfer to everyone and everything is certain. What this means, well, let me finish this. On the other hand, one exception held apart from true perception makes its accomplishment anywhere impossible. So when we're in the world and we're learning about accounting, and you can go to school and become an accountant and you get your degree and you feel like you are ready to, everything about accounting, you can still be an accountant and not open up in a business. You don't have to be an accountant for the world to come in and do things with you. You're an accountant and you're done. That's it. Well, when it comes to the transfer of the Course in Miracles, you must do the same thing to everyone and everything. If you are the light of the world, you shine your light with everyone and everything. So in the world, you can be an accountant by yourself. In the Course in Miracles, the way that we're transferring the knowledge, the perception, the way we embody it, it has to be shared. It has to be extended, because that is how you know that you have achieved your awakening, your enlightenment. Enlightenment is you are the light. You are in the light, of the light, as the light. You illuminate the path for others with the knowingness that you are not going to hide your light under a bushel. You're just going to shine it. This is why you cannot be awake if you're still embarrassed to talk about God, if you're embarrassed to talk about your recognition that everything is one. If there's any need to protect that, is because the ego is still having you be afraid of what people think, or afraid of disappointing, maybe mom or dad that taught you the ways of God, punishing God, or the church, or whatever it might be. Any resistance to being the light and shining your light fully with zero embarrassment, because there's only 100% confidence, is an indicator of where there is resistance that you want to look at. So everything here is works together to help us move beyond what it is that we have been thinking enlightenment is about. Until you shine your light fully, totally, you're not enlightened. You might be turning the dimmer up little by little, expanding your light, but to be totally the light, there's no other way than to shine it. There's no cover to it. Paragraph number 6 says, the only general rules to be observed throughout then are, first, that the exercises be practiced with great specificity, as will be indicated. This will help you to generalize the ideas involved to every situation in which you find yourself, and to everyone and everything in it. Second, be sure that you do not decide for yourself that there are some people, situations, or things to which the ideas are inapplicable. This will interfere with transfer of training. The very nature of true perception is that it has no limits. It is the opposite of the way that you see now. So 1, you practice exactly as you're told. 2, do not decide for yourself. You have got to apply this to everyone, because see, the ego tells us that we're separate from one another and unequal. I'm better, they're lesser. I'm up, they're down. Or I'm lesser, they're better. And always in separation, focusing on black and white, this party, that party, this football team, that football team. The ego loves separation and inequality. Well, to be able to transcend that big lie, which is the lie that creates that cocoon around us, or a cocoon for a collective group of people, or a family, or even humanity has been under the cocoon of separation. To be able to dissolve all of those lies, you must apply this to everybody. And you all know how long it took for you to be able to see everybody as equals. And if you are not there yet, this is required for you to fully experience your enlightenment. The ego has us begin the work with a few people, and then we expand it to a few more, because we're very, very protective of our wounds, very protective of our stories. It takes a little while to move past the stories, to stop resisting letting go of the story. So as we do the work, little by little, we begin to reframe the stories. Instead of this was done to us, eventually we realize, oh, it was done for me to shine my light, but I didn't remember that I was the light, so I blocked it. That's what's going to heal this relationship. I need to forgive it and love it. Love them anyways. Doesn't mean you have to be around them. You just need to love them, because any block to love is ego resisting, convincing you that you're not what you are. And it is not until you make the commitment to shine your light no matter what, love everybody equally. This is where judgment stops. This is where thinking we're better or lesser has to stop. And then you open yourself up to, well, how are we? How is it? What is it that makes us equal? We're all made of energy. Okay, that's equal. Einstein told us that E equals MC squared. Energy equals the matter that we see. All right, energy is in all of us. We are made of energy. What is energy? Energy is God. It's the essence of God. So if we're all made of energy, then God is in all of us. Where else is the kingdom of heaven going to be but within? And it's also without. It's in everything we see, as the Course in Miracles tells us in one of the early lessons. So once we are comfortable enough, and we have to take our time to strengthen ourselves. That's why you can't come out of the cocoon until you're ready, because you're going to be pushing, resisting some things and holding on to others. Some things you're going to move past, some things you're going to hold on in righteousness, because the ego holds on to righteousness up until it lets go of being spiritually right. Once we let go of being spiritually right or religiously right, then we are actually much closer to God. Until then, we think we're close to God. We think we're God. We may even say that we're God, but we don't treat everybody else as God. And that's how you know you haven't connected with God inside if you think you're God and they're not. So there are very clear, simple tests to knowing where you are on the path. And when you understand the simplicity of this one page, then so much of the Course in Miracles falls into place so much easier. So again, it's very simple. We're training our mind, and this mind is being trained by looking at everything from two ways. The way of the ego, what the ego has done, how the ego has made hell out of this world, and what God is, and how God wants us to understand not only who we are, but the voice for God inside, known as the Holy Spirit. And Jesus is facilitating, walking us through this entire process the whole way. And Jesus tells us, don't see me as being more accomplished or higher than you. We're equals. And there's only one difference that Jesus states to us in A Course in Miracles between us and Jesus. And that is that Jesus doesn't doubt that he is one with God like we do. So Jesus is just simply laying out the steps that he went through on his journey to remembering who he was. Much of this culminated in the garden, when he had his 40 days and 40 nights in not the garden, but in the mountains, where he went off into the desert and had his experience with God right after he had his baptism. The baptism that he experienced in the River Jordan with John the Baptist was a clearing off of the veil, a final, some very symbolic process by which he let the ego be washed away. Once that happened, he enters into his 40 days and 40 nights. What he was doing was the second part of the course, immersing himself in the truth of who he was. He shed the ego. He busted through that cocoon. He strengthened his wings in so much of what he was doing before that. Then he was flying. And he had 3 years after that baptism to show the world the way. That's why he said, I'm the way. I'm the life. I'm the truth. He was showing us the way to experience ultimate liberation, the total reincarnation of the soul out of the physical body. That's the symbolism of the crucifixion. He didn't want us to do what religion tells us. Oh, we crucified Jesus for your sins. He suffered because of you. You need to be guilty. Well, that doesn't let people move beyond the even get to the first stage of awakening. It's not possible, because that guilt and that shame makes so many people feel so powerless and so depressed that they can't even begin to question another way. Jesus wanted the resurrection to be what we saw as a reminder that we're not bodies. Bodies can't hold us. Once you know that you are not a body, you really know that you're energy. You really know that God is in everything. You really know what you are. That's how you feel the Father, Mother, God within you. Then you're one. You cannot be made of anything else. If you're made of energy, you're made of God, because there's nothing else. So it goes on to say at the end, the next paragraph 7. So the overall aim of the exercises is to increase your ability to extend the ideas you will be practicing to include everything. We have to be the same with everything. Even in the Constitution of the United States, channeled information came through that stated all men are created equal. That really meant all men and women, but in those days they wrote, as men. I am sure, I have no doubt that it came through as all beings are created equal, but the person that was receiving the information heard men in their own translation, because maybe that's how they thought at that time. But all beings are created equal, endowed by our Creator with life, eternal life, liberty, free will, and the pursuit of happiness. You can only be happy when truly happy, when you're totally you, enjoying this life freely, with liberty to express yourself. But that's not possible with the ego, because the ego does it selfishly, hurting others, which has created the insanity that we are waking up from. But when you do honor life, liberty, and experience true happiness, is because you honor all life. It's because you recognize that everything, every being, every single thing, including grass and rocks and everything, is God being. And you begin to treat it with that level of reverence. Now, your happiness is going to come, one, from knowing who you are, two, from being in relationship in this playground. Now, everything opens up. Now, you can be in relationship with everything and be happy and enjoy everything. There's nothing that you would be sad or uncomfortable about, because you would know that you are connecting with a creative source that is pure joy, pure love, pure bliss all the time. Then it goes on to say, and this is paragraph 7, sentence 2, this will require no effort on your part. Once you know, once you're free of the ego's cocoon, there's no effort. Life becomes fun and easy because God is in charge of everything. God knows if God wants to have a relationship between these two people, who is going to get in God's way to block that? If God wants to experience this situation, this place in the world, between this person and this space, what's going to keep that from happening? We have to get really clear that the only obstacles to our desires being fulfilled is because we have an ego that tells us you can't have it, you're not worth it, you're too big, you're too small, you're too little, you're too young, you're too old. Obstacles, obstacles, obstacles. Well, when you listen to only for the voice of God and you trust that that voice is the only one that guides you to that which allows you to feel totally, completely happy, then you don't care when the boss says, you know, I'm not going to give you that raise. All right, bye-bye, you leave. There's no fear, because you know, I feel I deserve more. I am worthy and entitled to more. God, I'm entitled to the miracle. Show me the way. Then the perfect things will show up. Sometimes it's instantaneous, sometimes it takes a little while, but as we move to the 5th dimension, it's all going to be instantaneous. Only in the 3D world do we need time, because here our mind is still programmed from birth to death, and you got to be a certain age for your body to be ready to do certain things. I was 6, 7 years old as a little girl. I loved pretending that I was a bride. I loved the idea of getting married and having, you know, Prince Charming, my Barbie doll and my Ken. We were doing weddings all the time. I used to have my sisters dress up sometimes as Ken. I wasn't Ken, I was Barbie always. So I was always the bride. I love that. Well, it's a good thing that my desire to be a bride didn't come into fruition at 6 or 7 years old. Maybe if I was born in India, maybe, or in Pakistan or somewhere, when they take child brides, that might have been instantaneous. But here where I was born, that wasn't my reality. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Sentence number 3 says the exercises themselves meet the conditions necessary for this kind of transfer. To transfer the information from the page to your heart. The lessons are designed to assist you with that. Now, I have all those lessons that I mentioned. I have read them all. I have explained them all, and I give examples for every one of them. And they are in my YouTube channel. So they're there, complimentary. Next year, I am going to create a group for people who want to go through the lessons, and I'm going to create probably a Facebook group for us to come in there and just talk about the lessons. How are these things working in our lives? And that's just going to be a fun thing. And it doesn't matter if you're new at it or you are experienced at it. It's just an opportunity to be able to look at all of those lessons and have that ongoing reminder. Paragraph 8. And this is, 8 and 9. Okay, 2 more. Some of the ideas the workbook presents, you will find hard to believe, and others may seem to be quite startling. The ego doesn't want you to believe that any of this is true. This is why people resist doing these lessons. This does not matter. You are merely asked to apply the ideas as you are directed to do. You are not asked to judge them at all. You are asked only to use them. It is their use that will give them meaning to you and will show you that they are true. Oh my goodness. I have taught lots of people A Course in Miracles over, this past decade. I have seen those that really progress and those that don't. I have seen those that dabble in it and those that are serious about it. And it's okay. Everybody gets to take whatever they want to take. The Course tells you that in the beginning. You are free to receive whatever you want to receive. You're just not allowed to alter the curriculum. The process is a process, but you taking of it is up to you. Like a buffet. You can't alter the food that the buffet is presenting to you, but you can take however much or little you want to take. You can take a whole bunch over here. You can take a whole bunch over there and not eat any of the broccoli. You can do that, but you cannot alter what is being served to you. Well, those who really are diligent about moving past their resistance to broccoli, moving past their resistance to okra. I don't like okra, but I've learned to eat it. Not that you have to do that, and we're not going to make you eat broccoli to do the course, but you have got to be willing to try new things, because you cannot solve problems with the same mind that creates the problems. Your mind has to be renewed. It has to be made new. We have to bring in what appears to be new information that is really the activation of the old truth that has always been true within us. That's why we call it an awakening. The truth that has been dormant, sleeping, just, twiddling its thumbs, waiting for us to say, yes, I'm going to trust you, is already inside of us and needs to be reactivated. We activate it by doing the practice, by extending love. And as you extend love, eventually, why would you want to stop doing the thing that feels the most amazing? You wouldn't want to stop loving once you understand that the movement of love through you, as you give it, it multiplies and you receive more of it. That process is absolutely, that's my addiction. That's why I keep doing what I'm doing. There's nothing in the world, nothing, not even my little grandbaby, comes to the same level of total and complete, that feeling of God's love moving through me. Baby, my little grandbaby's close, but it's not the same. If I just gave it to him and nobody else, I would be missing out on so much, because it's the extending it to all that is that multiplies the feeling, the deliciousness of being an instrument for God's message, an instrument of God's truth. Paragraph number 9. This is the last paragraph. Remember only this. You need not believe the ideas. You need not accept them, and you need not even welcome them. Some of them you may actively resist. None of this will matter or decrease their efficacy. But do not allow yourself to make exceptions in applying the ideas the workbook contains. And whatever your reactions to the ideas may be, use them. You have a reaction. Where's that coming from? Let's look at this. Why do I believe that? How does that block me from experiencing the truth? We use everything that comes up. But the stuff's not going to come up until you're willing to put these ideas to the test. When you begin to practice these ideas, that some of them are going to be so startling, some of them you're going to go, what? This is crazy stuff. Well, it's crazy to the ego that's upside down, that's backwards. Nothing more than this is required. Jesus gave us a very simple manual, very simple instructions, but the ego makes them super hard because the ego has turned everything backwards. Course tells you that. The ego has just completely turned our heads inside out, upside down in terms of what is true. So we have to make a commitment to allow ourselves to receive it. So I am so grateful, those of you who are my Patreon community and support this ability for me to offer these transmissions. Thank you so much for coming to receive, because I love giving it. I love sharing it. It just activates more, yumminess for me. So you could even say I do this selfishly, because it is just so amazing to feel the movement of the truth of God's, or the movement of God's truth through me. Is just absolutely incredible. I mean, it is channeling source, is channeling truth, and all of us are channels. We just have to open up the ability to allow that to flow, and it will flow once you accept it as your truth. But you can't accept it as your truth until you move past the resistance that the ego mind is creating. And it can be, we all know it's been lifetimes of resistance, but in this lifetime, within a couple of decades, I see people move on to a place of such freedom. And if I can do it, anybody can, because there's nothing special about me. Absolutely nothing. The only thing that I know I have is a determination, freedom. That's it. So I want to hear from you guys. Krista, did you want to share? Did you get some nuggets here today? I can't hear you if you're trying to say something. So let's see, while you try and figure that out, if anybody else, does anybody else want to share? Did you get some nuggets today? If you want to mute yourself. Crystal, I can't hear you. Say something. Nope. It's not coming through. Maybe now. Say a word. Nope, not too. What about anybody else? Oh, go ahead, Crystal. Speak again. Okay, I'm hearing a little bit. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. Nope, it went away.
Oh, I muted it by mistake now.
Okay,
I'm there, finally back.
go ahead.
That's what happens when you go off the path, you got to find your way back. I went off the path to my Bluetooth, and I had to find my way back. So it's just been wonderful to hear you in the throes of the burning truth that you're in, and just to feel your energy sharing the truth that's coming through you. It's just wonderful. So I don't have any questions other than powerful reminders of what I know that you're reminding me of with such powerful strength. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's the only thing that really is most joyful, totally most joyful, is the sharing of helping my brothers and sisters remember. It's just the best assignment ever. It's cool. Thank you. Kat?
Well, I was a teeny bit distracted trying to find where you were, but I did finally find it. And I listened, but I could but I listened to what you were saying about everything. To be in total honesty, I did some of the lessons and some I did not. So this, like, it's so powerful that I feel that it'd be good for me to go back and do the lessons. Just go back and start looking at that, like number 5, never upset for the reason I think, and so it's just a beautiful reminder of that. Basically, the ego's opinion in anything is meaningless. Yeah, there's just no meaning in it.
Yeah.
It's only the meaning that I give it. And I am so willing to be, well, I don't want to say to change my mind, but I'm willing to totally accept the truth. I am willing, and I know for me this is a kind of a middle thing. It's got to come totally into my heart, which I'm very loving to everyone. And last night there was an incident where I could have taken something as less than kind. And for a brief moment I did. And then I just, that's her shit. Just, it's not mine, nothing to do with me. I'm just a perfect child of God sitting here and in love. So I think this opportunity.
Yeah, it's that saying, what anybody thinks of me is none of my business. And we've got to get comfortable with that. Get really comfortable that we cannot be affected by anything. We're energy. So how can words affect energy? When we were little, because we're a similar generation, we grew up hearing sticks and stones might hurt my bones, but words will never hurt me. Do you remember hearing that?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah, whatever anybody says or thinks, it's not a big deal. And we got to be that free to let it go. Let it go. Thank you so much for that share.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Awesome. Sure. Anybody else wants to unmute? If not, we'll complete.
I agree with Kat on I need to revisit the lessons, and that should be just a practice that I want to devote myself to every day, to go through the lessons again.
Well, I'm going to do that group next year, and it's going to do it on Facebook, and anybody who's in Patreon, you guys can participate. It's not going to cost anything else. I think I'm going to do like $25 for people who are just going to be new to the course, and they'll do like $25 a month to be part of that. Do a little something, because it's going to require my presence every day. But if you're already in Patreon, you can come and access. You don't have to be there every day, but in the group, everybody is going to commit. Day 1, you're going to start with lesson 1. Every day for 1 year, you do the lesson, and then come and share as you feel. Come and I'll do a live probably every day. I'll have a little bit of time where you can come into the Facebook group, and we can chat, ask questions. I'm going to make it as helpful as possible for anybody who wants to go through the year in 2023. So, but like I said, it's not a Zoom where you have to come it's not that way. It's drop in as you want to and put comments so that I know what people are thinking or what people might, where they have questions. So very loose format, but very committed to a lesson a day. Of course, I can't monitor to make sure people do that, but those who do will get a lot out of it. So I'm going to do it.
Are you going to post that somewhere that we'll see it?
Yes, I'm going to start promoting the introduction that is available in my YouTube channel. So people can start watching the introduction between now and the first of the year. And I'll probably start promoting this November, December. And that will be, you know, if people ask you, what have you been doing? Or if anybody's curious about the course, tell them about it. And of course, they would sign up and come to the other way. I'll send them, I've got to create the page for that sign up, and making it as easy and as accessible as possible. I think the course is the teachings that are so concise that are going to help humanity wake up. And I'm excited to be a part of that. So that's it. That's it. Well, I so appreciate you all, and appreciate your support of me through Patreon. It's really cool. Really amazing.
You're amazing.
You're amazing.
We're all amazing. We're all amazing. We're all amazing kids of God.
Yes, that reminds me, when Lauren was little, we used to say to her, "You're pretty amazing." And she one day, came back to us and she said, "You're amazing," meaning pretty amazing. So we came up with a word. We had our word with her, "You're amazing." But it was only because she couldn't say pretty amazing. So it became permazing. Oh, the kid words are the best. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much. I'm going to go grab some lunch and then get ready for my 2 o'clock coaching. Here we go.
Thank you.
Love you
Thank
all.
you.
Huh.
Love
Love
you.
you all.
You.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.